What's up, guys? I'm here with Steve Cook, and
What's up?
Yeah, so we've been filming some content this week, having a good time, and today I want to talk about Steve, how you got into flexible dieting, like how you found it. You know, what made you go that route as opposed to the bro route?
That's a great question because I first got in the industry after I was done playing college football, and I'd always done my bodybuilding and everything like that in addition with my football stuff. And I got into it, and I was working with this natural pro in Boise, Idaho, and for the most part, he created a diet for me. It was like I remember I was eating, you know, I looked forward to my protein. I had a bar every night that I got to eat, and that was like my dessert. And and then I started reading your stuff on bodybuilding.com, and I'm like, you know, I kind of like this. It's a little different. Like, It's not the typical thing that I'd always read in magazines and whatnot. And when I really realized that it was what I, needed, is that after shows, I would always balloon up because in my mind, like I got to the point where I even thought like, fruit to me was not clean. Like I'd kind of been inundated with the bodybuilding world where you need to eat cold tilapia and rice and asparagus. It's like a badge of honor. Like you need to suffer. And I
also need to suck the tilapia gel out of the bag,
That is just, there's nothing worse than tilapia gel on cold fish. But yeah, so then I was like, you know what? If there's a better way to do this, it's going to be more of a lifestyle. And I remember sitting there thinking like, I'm either going to have to leave this industry. Like I'm either not going to be able to do.
Yeah, remember when we first talked, you were working at a restaurant.
Yeah.
You were really struggling with that. Yeah.
Yeah, I was working, and honestly, I was working at a restaurant, and I would go into these, like, there was times, because I'd won a couple shows, and I thought, I needed to be this perfect person that ate right all the time. And I remember being in the back of Texas Roadhouse, and they have this ice cream where you put ice cream on the people's dessert, and I'd just be sitting there back there eating ice cream. And someone would come in, and I'd be like, "What? No, I'm not eating ice cream." Like,
yeah, like the ice cream all over your mouth and stuff.
It was so unhealthy though. But I'd binge, and then I'd feel worse. So the next day, I'd try to cut my calories extreme. But it was all this kind of like good food versus bad food, and it was really tough. So I think that and even when we started first working together, it was hard for me to wrap my mind around that. But really, and then working together, I really felt like it has to become a lifestyle. There has to be a paradigm shift to where you're now thinking. And I love what you said in one of the other videos we did. Again, if you can eat like this in 3 months, and only change up your macros, not the foods you eat.
Right.
You're going to be winning.
If you can't sustain it. Because the research shows that even like we're talking about obese Americans, 6 out of every 7 obese people will be able to lose a significant amount of weight in their lifetime. So why do we have an obesity problem? The problem is that 95% of them within 3 years will put it all back on, or in two-thirds of their case, 2/3 of that 95% will have added more weight than they originally lost. Right?
So true.
So it's I actually had like a little debate actually, there was this guy. I forget his name. He was supposed to do a debate with me at the ISSN on clean eating versus if it fits your macros or flexible dieting. And my opening he backed out, of course. But my opening, of course,
he was researching some stuff. Like, I don't want to do this.
Yeah. Well, when you realize you don't have any points to defend your position, and you're actually going to be at an academic conference where they require that, and you can't just yell at somebody, it doesn't usually work out well. But I went on his Facebook, and the first thing I saw, or his Instagram, was this big, massive cheat meal, right? And it must have been like 6,000-7,000 calories, right? And I went and added up all the junk food and all the calories. And then I went through what I usually eat in a week. And I was going to show that I actually ate less calories from junk food during the week than he did.
Of course.
Right? So that's the thing, is I say a lot of flexible dieters actually eat less junk than people who are on quote-unquote clean eating. And I said, even if that's not the case, what do you think is really healthier? Somebody who has an obsession and fixation on foods, or somebody who, moderately, and listen, if you're trying to find a way to fit every piece of junk food into your diet that you can,
right.
And when I say junk food, I mean, minimal fiber, minimal extra nutrients, those sorts of things. But if that's just something that you're having as like a little add-on and you're hitting all your other requirements, why is that bad?
It's so true. My mom, she's always been thin. She's always been able to stay thin, but she will have a little piece of chocolate. She's the type that bites a piece of chocolate, wraps the rest back up, and puts it away.
Yeah.
And it's kind
of. Can you imagine that when you're clean eating?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's kind of that is the flexible dieter.
Right.
It's portion control. It's not beating yourself up for it.
Right.
Where if I had, when I was on my binge clean eat, if I had that one bite of chocolate, I would have been probably in 2 or 3 different drive-thrus and just splurging to the point where I felt like I was going to have to buy a new pair of pants. And I would just hate myself. Yeah. I would get done and I was just like, why can't you be better? Why can't you control yourself? Like, you have no willpower and you just beat yourself up. And it's this roller coaster that just leaves you burnt out and not wanting to be healthy. So I think, if you're out there and there's a lot of people out there in the fitness industry that are like that. If that's you, then take a step back and look at, okay, what am I really placing value on? Why do I place so much value on how I look, first of all, and not about being healthy? Because that binge eating, that's not healthy, and we got to be healthy first.
Well, and if you're healthy here, body's going to follow. Like that. That's you. If you can't take care of yourself, be in the right place mentally, you're not going to be able to take care of the physical stuff. And I think. For you, I mean, people have this misinterpretation of flexible dieters that they think they just eat all junk food.
Yep.
We were talking about your diet yesterday. I mean, you wake up, you have oatmeal, eggs, and then you're having chicken and some rice, broccoli, all this kind of stuff. And you're, for flexible dieting, it's like, oh, I had a Layne and Larry's cookie.
Exactly.
Or I'm going to go out and have some sushi, that sort of thing. It's not crazy over the top. But it also does allow you that flexibility that if whatever, it's there's a big work function coming up and they're going to cater pizza or something like that, you can have a couple slices of pizza, account for it, and it's people ask me how often I have a cheat meal. I say I don't have cheat meals.
Right.
Because I'm always eating mindfully.
Right.
I'm always accounting for it somehow. Now, am I going to know exactly what was in that pizza? And if I'm 2 weeks out from a show, am I going to eat that pizza? No, because it's going to be very difficult for me to track it.
Right.
But if I'm in the off season, I'm just trying to maintain my weight or slowly gain something like that.
Why
can't I have that?
Mindful eating. I like that.
Because even if I'm off a little bit, it's still better than just going into fuck it mode.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's what I call it, is fuck it mode.
We're just shoving everything in your mouth.
And what's funny is people, you'll do that. And I'm sure you several times, because I see this all the time. People go, this is the last cheat meal I'm ever having. I'm never doing this again.
How many times do you hear that? Diet starts Monday.
Of course you're going to do it again, right? We're creatures of habit. So, break the habit. We want to make good habits.
And just looking at it from a psychological standpoint, if you tell yourself you can't have something, we see throughout society, when you start telling things, you're telling people you can't have something, you can't do that, all you do is fixate on that.
Yeah, and I tell people, if I took you into a house, right, and I said, you can go anywhere you want, but for the love of God, do not go in this room. If you go in this room, you'll be like, what's in that room?
That's Layne's Christian Grey room.
Yes, my 50 Shades of Grey room would be a bunch of guns, actually, and fishing gear.
Oh, I like it.
So, no, I think the point that we're trying to make is that, and flexible dieting isn't an end-all solution. And I think people have the wrong idea. They think, too, can I do flexible dieting in keto? Can I do flexible dieting in this? You can do flexible dieting in anything.
Right.
You can do flexible dieting in, quote-unquote, eat clean.
Right.
Flexible dieting simply means that you're just not saying, I'm completely cutting off these food groups.
To have the word diet in flexible dieting is kind of a misconception.
Yeah.
So you're not really dieting.
Flexible nutrition.
Yeah, flexible nutrition is kind of the only thing that the only thing you're putting a restriction on is obviously your calories, which now really comes down to portion control. Exactly. And that's what it is. And that is going to be not a diet at all. That's a lifestyle. And for me, even on this prep, I'm a little less than 3 weeks out. No, 2.5 weeks out now. And I enjoy eating my oatmeal and strawberries in the morning with a little Greek yogurt. I
love Greek yogurt.
Yeah, I enjoy making things that taste good. That I know that some weeks I guess I'll go and I'll eat the same thing every day for breakfast because it doesn't get old.
Yeah,
to me
too.
And then I'm gonna wake up today and make I'm gonna get an English muffin. I'm gonna make turkey bacon, and I'm gonna have fun with it.
And that's the point of flexible dieting. It's not like, okay, I'm gonna go have a whole bag of M&Ms or something like that. And it's like, no, you can do that, right? A little bit more difficult when you get low calorie. Yep. But it's, you know what? I don't feel like chicken at this moment. I'd rather have fish. Or I don't feel like chicken here. I'm gonna have steak, and I'm gonna take my fat out from some other portion of the day, right? I'll tell you where it started. I'll kind of end on this. That Dr. Joe was really the first person to do, Dr. Joe Klimzetsky, to do flexible dieting, in that he was on a contest prep, and the guy said, this much asparagus or green beans. And he said, well, I like peas. Can I have peas? And the guy was like, no. And Joe was like, well, why not? Just no. And Joe's like, I want peas. You know, like, and so this whole thing started over peas, you know, argument about peas. But
I didn't know that.
You know, and so like now, like really now, like it's a great time to flexible diet because you have all these lower calorie foods. You know, there's tracking
Apps,
information anywhere. You know, we have Avatar Nutrition now, which is I got so busy with clients. Which actually, it's funny. I told people for so long I was full with clients, and now people just don't even bother asking. And so now actually I do have client spots. It's funny. But, you know, we made Avatar Nutrition so that people would have an affordable way to flexible diet, which is $9.99 a month. And basically, you put your information in, and it will generate custom macronutrients for you and then adjust them up and down just like a coach would, right? Now, obviously, like, there's still a place. I always say, like, there's still a place for customized coaching because, like you said, like, sometimes for you, like for contest prep, this wouldn't necessarily work for you because you like to have some people to say, hey, pump the brakes, you know, this sort of thing. You like that emotional support. But I think that'll be a great, you know, option.
Even, like you said, if you're not 6 weeks or 8 weeks out, that app would be your app. The Avatar would be great in the off season. Even for me, if I have a different goal, want to switch it up.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
Plugging your numbers in. And again, you get direct feedback each week pretty much because you're seeing, you know, if you're keeping track, you're seeing the changes in there. I wanted to ask you, is there any time like on a holiday or is there any time that you're just like, you know what, I'm not worrying about it? Are you always mindfully eating?
Excellent question. I always tell people, you know, there is no wrong or right answer. You just have to be honest with yourself, right?
Gotcha.
So what I usually see is people go, I'm not going to track, but then they go off into like snowflake land where it's like, then they don't track, they eat whatever they want, and then like, oh my God, I gained 5 pounds. How did this happen? Well, of course you gained 5 pounds, you know? So if you don't want to track, that's fine, but understand that the less adherent you are, the more likely you are to gain body fat, right? If you want to track, so how restrictive you are is just going to depend on how important it is for you not to gain body fat, right? If you say, you know what, I just want to enjoy these holidays. If I put on 5 pounds, I know I can take it off. It's not a big deal. Then there's nothing wrong with that, right? But if you say, you know what, I don't want to gain too much body fat, but I also want to enjoy it, so I'm going to kind of roughly track in my head, and I'm not going to weigh stuff out, all that kind of thing. And then, like, I had a client, she was like, you know, I just really like being ripped, to be honest with you. She's like, it doesn't bother me to bring a scale anywhere. Like, I don't feel weird. And she's like, you know, and I don't really care if people think of me like.
We're all addicted to something. If you bring a scale, that's fine.
And I said, well, as long as that's fine, and you're still able to have fun, and you have a good
mentally
time.
You're good.
Then there's nothing wrong with that. That's what you value. You like being ripped, so no problem, right?
True.
So that's like I said, as long as you have that honest conversation with yourself.
And I don't know what percentage of the population has ever counted macros before, but, you know, for people, my brother and I were having this conversation. He's not at all in the fitness industry, but I feel like there's every year Americans spend, you know, billions of dollars on diet books
diet stuff.
And if people really, and what it is comes down to hard work. It's not easy. No. It's easy to count macros once you know what you're doing, but it's not easy to learn how to read labels. It's not easy to learn how to work maybe the app and input foods and to measure things out. Like, there is a learning curve that you need to get over, but that's going to be the fastest way, I think, to success is to know, even for 2 to 3 weeks when you're starting off a new program.
Just track. Don't even change anything. Just track it, you know, and it's like giving a man a fish versus teaching a man to fish, you know, and
we're in America, everywhere we give away so much. Do this or cut out this, cut out that.
And I think especially in the fitness industry, like if you're telling people, hey, there's no magic secret, you just gotta kind of track and be diligent. It's like, well, why am I gonna pay for that advice?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
I want the shortcut. I want that secret.
I want that magic solution. You know, and that's you know we see that a lot. It gets sold, but you know I think again in flexible dieting it still requires sacrifice. It still requires dedication. You know, but. It's not something that I came to because I wanted to eat a lot of Pop-Tarts or whatever.
Right.
It's because I felt like it was the most reasonable solution.
And that being said, every diet that you've ever given me or macros, there's always a fiber goal.
Yep.
And you can even break that down further. And if you wanted to get more into it, you could have a saturated fats versus polysaturated. You could get that. I don't get that crazy. I just know that most of the time when I'm eating my fats, they're coming from avocado. It's coming from some coconut oil. It's coming from, obviously, the fats in my protein. So I know I'm doing pretty good with that. Yeah. And that's really the name of the game.
Yeah. Well, Steve, I'm sure all my viewers know you, but if they don't, where can they find you?
You can find me at just Steve Cook. Pretty simple. Twitter, Instagram. So
if you don't know, now you know. Thanks, buddy.
Thank you.
Awesome.